everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Not long ago, all the players in Washington played the same game in pursuit of what's best for America. Today, it seems like they're not even on the same playing field or playing the same sport. Joining me to discuss the DC dysfunction that defies all the rules of the game is a former NCAA championship football coach and broadcaster, Lou Holtz. Coach Holtz, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to get you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you, Laura.
All right, so recently you wrote about the need for teamwork in Washington, which we all know is in desperate need there, saying politicians are never going to escape the partisan gridlock paralyzing Congress unless they start working together for the good of the American people. Give me your thoughts on that. Why did you write that?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when the Democrats and Republicans worked together, but what happened is entirely different today. See, before we had a difference of opinion, because I really felt that Democrats and Republicans both had the objective to keep America safe and to help them be prosperous. We had different idea how to achieve that. The Democrats thought you had to do it one way, the Republicans another, but there was the same objective. Today we have a problem. A problem is because they have different objectives. I cannot tell you what the Democrats' objective is other than to obstruct everything that happens along the line. There's no common goal because there is no common teamwork because there's no common goal. And anything else, when you talk to a football team, you talk to them about teamwork, you talk about we need each other. You can't do it alone. There's all kinds of Hall of Fames, but I've never seen a monument go to a team. We got to come together, and the minute we put the people in this country first and our security first, then we'll head back to a different opinion, the country will prosper.
Yeah, it is a shame to see how the left and the Democrats are almost willing to do anything to go against this president, even if it's detrimental for our country, whereas in the past, people were willing to come together and work together. Where Democrats, Coach, seem least willing to be team players is on border security, yet the crisis is growing worse. What do you make of this game plan of theirs that they want to do anything they can to keep the borders open and they're not going to go along with building a wall?
Hatred and bitterness is an exact recipe for disaster. And you don't ever get ahead of anybody by trying to get even. I don't know what it is they have against President Trump, but I do know this. They voted for everything about border security years ago. Without borders, you have no country. You know, the people coming in, welcome, come here legally. Come here, my grandparents, all four of my grandparents came through Ellis Island. They learned the language, they blended in, they came here to become American. And now we have so much chaos at the border, and yet they don't want to do anything to solve it. We're not just talking about crime because there are an awful lot of good people that come in, no doubt about it. But we're also talking about the cost of welfare and things, but also the one thing that's overlooked, Laura, is the problem with education. You look at how much money we spend per student, and yet at the same time, you look, we're 38th in the world in math, and I think 24th in English or something. That's absurd. Why does that happen? I understand in Chicago, there's one school district that teaches classes in 58 different languages. I mean, you can't be successful if you don't learn the language. And you can go on and on. So they were all for it, but now that Trump is in office, they're totally opposed to it. And I don't know how you can justify putting your personal feelings, when you were elected to serve this country, you put your personal feelings ahead of what's in the best interest of the country. I have no respect for that.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us have respect for the hypocrisy, as you're pointing out, that the last president, they were all happy to go along with border security. They voted for border security and some sort of a structure on our southern border. Now under this president, Coach, it's so funny how things change so quickly and they want nothing to do with border security. Now the president issued his first veto of a congressional resolution that rejected his national emergency declaration to secure the border.
Yesterday, Congress passed a dangerous resolution that, if signed into law, would put countless Americans in danger, very grave danger. The Democrat-sponsored resolution would terminate vital border security operations by revoking the national emergency issued last month It is definitely a national emergency. Rarely have we had such a national emergency. Therefore, to defend the safety and security of all Americans, I will be signing and issuing a formal veto of this reckless resolution.
All right, Coach, we were all watching when that happened. What was your reaction?
My reaction was that's why we elected him. Finally, we have somebody that isn't going to worry about politics. He's going to do what he feels in the best interest of the people. I commend him. I congratulate him. And what he did, he took the eraser and erased the mistake that Congress did once, twice.
Yep, and thank God he did. And you're exactly right. I think Americans across this country were so happy to see that this president stood up for what people voted him in office to do and didn't back down. It takes a strong person to do that, and I think we've got the right one in the White House to stand up and fight for all Americans. So, Coach, Democrats are revealing more of their plays for the upcoming campaign season, and they're all based on socialism with crazy policies such as the Green New Deal and Medicare for All. How do you think this is going to play across the American heartland with the average person in this country?
I think it depends upon the education of the voters. You know, there was a time, Laura, where you had the Democrats and Republicans on each side. And the officials were the media. The media would tell you what was right, what was wrong, who was doing right, who was doing wrong. And it's important that we educate the people, because you go to Venezuela, you go to Cuba, you go to Russia, you go to China, you go to these places, there's strict socialism. And it does not work. And as Margaret Thatcher said, I think it said, it works until you run out of other people's money.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? I always wonder how the Democrats are going to pay for all of these incredible free things that they're offering the people of this country. But you're right, it's very important that I think we as a campaign, we as Republicans and as supporters of this president, Coach, make sure that we are getting the word out about socialism. Because you look at a country like Venezuela, where people on average there have lost 24 pounds because they're starving to death. They're eating dog and cat food to survive, where 90% of the population lives below the poverty line. It's incredibly scary to think how quickly that happened. Venezuela was one of the most prosperous countries in South America, and now they are absolutely destitute. We don't want that coming to this country, and I think we all have a responsibility as Americans to inform our fellow countrymen and women as to what socialism is and what it would mean for this country. I say it all the time, but it's so important. So thank you for that great point. Now, the president has a winning record over the past 2 years thanks to his unprecedented deregulation, record job growth, and these new trade deals that we continue to see. Don't you think that voters will have such an easy choice when they answer the question in November of 2020, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
I don't think there's any doubt they're going to be able to say they're better off than they were 4 years ago. But the media's going to do everything possibly they can to tell you how worse and how bad everything is, and how bad President Trump is, how bad this country is, how bad our foreign policy is. I don't know. We're not in any more wars, things along that line, but it goes on and on. I think that we also look at the educational system and what's being taught. The young millennials are being taught that, oh, socialism is absolutely great, et cetera. And when it comes down to voting, you're going to have to say, okay, how are they going to finance it? I'll tell you how I think they're going to finance it. They're going to tax everybody's savings. However much you have, they're going to tax it maybe as much as 50% to pay for that, because you just have to educate the people. I cannot see how there could be a difficult choice for anybody who really and truly looked at the facts. The one thing, and I've gotten an awful lot of people upset with me over the last couple of years, because they'll say, why do you support them? And I'll list all the different things, and they can't defend it. They can't argue it. So what they do, they make it personal. That's what's going to happen all along the line. They're going to cause a lot of people not to say anything because they don't want to be offended. Fortunately, I'm old enough that my candles cost more than the birthday cake. I don't care how people feel. I am going to live the fullest. I'm going to speak up for what I believe, regardless of the consequences.
Oh, well, we are so grateful for that, Coach. And you were actually the coach at my alma mater, NC State. I know you are beloved all across this country. I'm just curious, though, one final question for you. When was the point that you decided to support Donald Trump? What was it that made you support this man? And by the way, be so outspoken about it, because it takes a lot of guts, Coach, to get out there these days and be a Trump supporter, as we all know.
Well, he was successful as a businessman. He dealt with people. There weren't any about him being a racist or anything else. And the whole time he was in business, I liked what he said. I felt that that's what this country needed. I felt he could turn around after the 8 years we had. That I just felt he was the right individual. The more I heard him, the more I seen him. And now that I see him in office, I'm 5 times stronger for him now than I was the last election.
Well, we certainly appreciate the great support from the campaign, and as a family member, I can tell you that we love everything that you do every day to speak up for this president and to fight for him. And thank you so much for coming here today and chatting with us. We so appreciate it, and we hope to have you back soon.
Well, thank you for having me.
The Democrats won't play ball, but that's not stopping President Trump from leading our American team to victory in the season ahead. That's the real news for today. I'm Laura Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.